Hi friends, I'm Pam and welcome to A Scrappy Little Joy. Today is a really exciting day for me for multiple reasons. First things first, welcome back to our Scrappy Starters series. This is our playlist where we dive deep into individual, most used block units that make up broader quilt blocks and then obviously broader quilts. And so what we do in the Scrappy Starter series is dive deep and learn the ins and outs and tricks and tips for all the individual blocks. Our block today is the rail fence block. Very simple, but such a versatile block in so many ways. What I also brought with me today is something that I am most excited about. This is my A Song to Sing fabric collection for Andover Fabrics. And friends, it is shipping to shops as we speak. So this month, you'll see it in shops. You'll see it in Serendipity Woods, but I always ask you to go and check with any favorite quilt shops that you have, whether they're in your neighborhood or whether they are online. If they aren't stocking it, ask them to stock it. I would be so delighted, and I certainly want to support shops most of all. But again, if you can't find it, it's always going to be in Serendipity Woods. So stay tuned for this next week probably, and you'll start to see it populate in the woods. Okay, so first things first, you see that I have brought quite a stash here. As usual for our Scrappy Starters series, Jane is quiet because I've done all the sewing ahead of time. So I'm excited. I still have to take my shoes off though. It feels like I need to take my shoes off when we work together, when we are together here in a Scrappy Little Joy, making fun, making blocks. So here is our rail fence block. Now it can be multiple, more than 3, more than 4. It's just straight rectangle pieces that all come together. In this case, for the most part, we're going to be working with just the 3-strip one and how that starts. But you know, as you can see, very simple, but it starts, one of the best things about the rail fence block is that it starts with strips. So simple strips, you're just going to sew them together. And the thing about rail fence blocks, when there aren't a lot of other additions to the rail fence block, you can pretty much always sew these at 1/4 of an inch versus a scant 1/4 of an inch. And we'll talk about why that's a thing coming up in our, are we on block 13 or block 12? Our next block for the weekly whim. We'll talk about how important it is to know the difference between whether we're using a scant 1/4 of an inch or a 1/4 of an inch. And it's a really interesting thing that I learned as I was preparing this. So there's our 3 strips. And as you can see, I'm just going to tidily tuck these over here because I'm using these for something else. I'm very excited about what I'm making as a result of this project. So friends, understand that when I'm digging deep and learning and pulling together information for these projects, for our Scrappy Starters and for Weekly Whim, I'm having so much fun with what I'm learning and other things that are ignited in me to make for projects to share. Okay, so here we have our strip units all sewn together with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now what I want to do, friends, you'll note I have my little iron over here. You may not know, this is actually a pressing table. Mr. Woods made it for me. It's wonderful. It's a cart actually, and I know we ought to do a nice little tutorial on it, and I think we will. First things first, rail fence blocks, when we are pressing them, can be a little bit tricky because if we are pressing to one side or the other, they can kind of want to twist and go in wonky directions. I am most inclined of all the blocks, and in most cases, rail fence blocks are not going to be nesting up against in a certain way, unless they're nesting up against each other, and that can be a factor. Then we'd want to press in opposite directions. In this case, in most cases, we want to press open. And so let me just show you how I start my pressing process because it makes a difference. Anyway, did I share with you? These are my fabrics for a song to sing. And so you'll see a little bit of these fabrics right here. So you'll get a little bit of a glimpse. It's just a few of them, but I'm really excited about them coming to shops, and I'm really proud of it. It's just kind of one of those things that that I've stepped into, and I can't unknow how much it means to me to see my designs, my doodles on fabric, and for people to be able to make things, and certainly for me as well. So it's quite a privilege, it's quite an honor, and I am ever so grateful for the opportunity to do it. Sorry. Pressing. One of our friends here at the channel commented how she likes to press open, but she struggles to get a hold of her seam allowances and open this up. And that can be tricky. What you can do is tug it this way, and if you tug here just a little bit, you can see that sometimes it'll just give you a little opening. All we need to do is get this started, okay? And I want to show you what I do so that you can see. As you know, as I press, I am a hoverer to sort of get things going, and then I'm a presser, right? So my iron is up as I'm going. And that's especially important as you are pressing rail fence units. Now see how I'm going along and I'm using the point of my iron to sort of open that, and then I'm pressing, okay? So I've got that. Once I would recommend pressing the whole strip, this seam, and then go to this next seam, and then look what happens. You can do the same thing here. You can kind of twist your iron so that you can sort of press them together so that they stay open. But what we're finding as we go along, we are pulling our fabric here so that it is laying open gently without twisting, right? And then when we get over here, we just want to give this a little bit of a tug, just so it is nice and flat, right? So that those seam allowances are nice and flat on the other side, right? And so if we see, I will show you the next one, which I have already made, because that's the fun part about these videos. I get to do them all ahead of time. Okay, so here is our piece already pre-cut. What did I do? Of course I put it over there. Already pre-cut. I'm sorry, our strip unit is already sewn together and pressed. What we want to talk about now is trimming or cutting, because that can be also tricky. Tips and tricks here, friends. So first things first, what we want to do is square up our end, okay? In this case, my unit here is a 3.5-inch unit, finished 3. And I'm going to line this up at the top, any one of my lines, and I'm just going to square it off, okay? Now, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to line. I'm always going to make sure my lines are nice and straight here, because that is the factor. That's going to change. And we need to be aware of it and paying attention to it. So there's one unit. We're cutting another one, 3.5. Yep, our line's nice and straight across. And here's another one, 3.5. And our line, yeah, that looks pretty straight. That's good. Next one, straight across, straight across. Wow, I'm doing pretty good. It won't be forever, friends. And it's different with each unit. Okay, now I'm starting to see it, okay? Now I'm starting to see that my line here is starting to get crooked. So look what'll happen. If I just line this up and this is nice and straight, I'll start to see that I need to square up again, okay? So we want to just square up and trim that off so that we're ready to start fresh again, nice and straight. So we'll do a few more, and then we'll see how we work out. This is my Eucalyptus Fizz print. And these are my Doodle Sons prints. I think the Doodle Sons might have been the first ones that I designed. for this. Friends, I'm really surprised because usually they get so much more crooked. This one might be crooked. Yeah, this one's starting to tip. So now I'm just gonna bring it back in and I'm gonna square it up so that I'm nice and square here. And I'm gonna get those extra ones done. I'm so excited to share with you also a project that I am making, the bigger project. I've made several projects here. So we'll have some fun little things to, I don't know, hang up in the studio or put in different places, but okay. So there are all our units, right? This 3.5 inches made 9 units here. So I'm excited for those being ready. So let's just say now we've got all of our little units here. And we can start to see that they make different designs as we place them in different positions, right? So for instance, this block right here. Now this would be a simple block for you to just toss in with, and as a matter of fact, I think it's been in several of the sew-alongs that I've been doing lately. So just a very simple block. One block that can go in a sampler quilt or whatever. But what happens if you make multiples of this one block? What does that look like? Maybe I'll just pull this back over here. I think I'll do that. That looks like this, right? So we've just got some little swirly pinwheely type styles. You could do a whole quilt in that, or you could put a secondary block alternating, and then this is your block that is, you alternate 2 blocks, right? So that's an option for your rail fence. Then there's another way. Look at this. Just by nature of changing how we orient these and how we position them, we've got a split rail fence. This is a split rail fence, and it gives a kind of a zigzag direction, if you will, zigzag pattern. Okay, then what if we wanted to make our rail fence units long? There's nothing that says they have to be square. And what if, let me make sure I'm right side up here because this is the cutest darn block. I had the most fun with this. Full disclosure, the kitty in the middle is our friend Tula Pink's darling, darling little, I think it's Disco Kitty if I remember correctly. Anyway, we've had it in the shop and this is the last little bit of it. It was just a little scrap left. I'm like, oh, that'd be perfect because it plays really sweetly with my A Song to Sing fabrics. Okay, but you can see I've got these long rectangles. That represents one strip cut into 4 pieces. And what you will also know is how in the heck did those go together? They had partial seams. And my friends, if you are afraid of partial seams, get ready. We're going to do something on, we'll do a whole video on partial seams, and you're going to be like, oh, I had no idea. That's the easiest thing ever. We'll make it comfy. We'll make it fun. So there's our little kitty. I thought this could go in my studio or out here somewhere. I don't know. I just love it. It's a cute little happy kitty. Okay, so now let's talk about if we took, we'll just settle back into our rail fence, our basic square one. What if we added something to these? What if we added a corner? And we just did stitch and flip corners on the top and on the bottom, or the other way. I can't remember how I did it, right? So we added a whole nother feature. Look at that, right? Right up here and right up here. Just by adding a little square, we've changed the whole look of that block. And how do we know that? Look here. Right? So what we have is a little swirling action going on, but we've got secondary squares on point that are changing the whole look of our little rail fence unit. And this is how we can really go, wow, there's so much that we can do with a rail fence unit to really make it something different all the time, right? Okay, so with that in mind, we arrive at the project that I'm working on, which involves all of these things, right? But what if we added something else in with our rail fence units with our little corner triangles? Some sashing. Look here, friends. Now this is an unfinished project because I'm still working on it. I'm going to be adding more to it, but look, just the adding of simple sashing strips and cornerstones, we have a whole nother look. We can brighten that look so it's a little bit less bright in terms of the fabrics that those 3 fabrics, or those actually those 5 fabrics that we've used. We're brightening it up by adding a nice sashing strip in there. So this, my friends, is going to be, I think, what did I say? This is 11 wide and it'll be 9 long, because I need a cover for my ottoman where my orange friend Copernicus sleeps frequently. That is where I do a lot of my computer work. I call it my other office, and that is upstairs, and my little friend Copernicus likes to lay there right at my feet, and you know, I'd like to have a little something there that can be laundered, and I am a big supporter of laundering quilts. Don't put them away, and don't put them in a closet and cuddle them like they aren't, like you want to protect them forever. Use them. Encourage people to use them. I think if they don't do me any good, they don't do the people that I gift them to any good if they're sitting protecting them, and teach them how to launder. Ooh, we'll do a video on laundering too. That's a good idea. Look at another one, friends. This, as I've been researching and putting all of this together, I've been noticing things around my house. This is a project, a quilt pattern that is in the works. I just haven't finished it, but I made this years ago, literally. And it is called, it's a London Road, a variation on the London Road quilt block. But do you see the arrows? And you see that we have rail fence units right here, all the way around. So this is an example of how, again, using those rail fence units and just turning them, and then you've got another, I forget what this is called, but anyway, you've got another unit here that's making for an arrow going all the way around. So just by combining our rail fence units with other blocks, we're making all kinds of fun things, okay? So finally, one more thing that I have, when looking around my house, as this whole rail fence has been in my brain, something else came to mind. So a number of years ago, and this is before I had my shop, I just threw this little, it's very old, it's been washed so many times. I just threw this little thing together, this little quilt block. It's an 8-inch block, and I just pulled all of these fabrics from my stash, and I just put this together, and I loved it. And it sat beside my chair where I put my coffee mug, because this is a thermal insulated, I use the Thinsulate batting in between, so it protects the table, right? So then somewhere along the line, when I was starting to design my fabric collection, I was thinking about how important it is, how much I want to get comfortable and stay comfortable with neutrals, including some tans, friends, tortilla, a little bit of yellow, some grays, along with bright colors, for my ability to decorate my house so that it doesn't necessarily always look quite so inside of a circus tent. Do you follow where I'm going with that? I mean, like, there's a fine balance. I like warm and cozy with pops of color, okay? So that's, when I talk about a song to sing, that's really where my head is going. So as I was putting my thoughts together for a song to sing, I decided I needed to make another one of these because it was sitting next to me and I just needed a fresh one. So I put this together, and as you can kind of see, I've got lots of neutrals in here, some Osnaburg cotton here in the corner, some nice yellow, but bright colors, right? So I love this. But what you're seeing here and what you're seeing here is our rail fence, right? It's 4, but whatever, 4, 5, 10. I mean, make however many you want to make those configurations. So then what did I have to do? I had to make one with my A Song to Sing collection. So I put this together too. And of course, what you see here, these are my little text prints, and I'm in love with them. You will note there's 5 colors of my text text print. It's called Soul Speak. And you will note that here, for the next foreseeable future until I run out of the short ones, these are some of the quotes from my Soul Speak. And they're not just words, they're not just letters, they're little encouraging quotes that mean something to me, and I hope means something to you in terms of being encouraging and supportive and lifting us up. So this is one of my very, very favorites. We are all a little broken. That's how the light gets in. It's true. So anyway, that is that little block. And of course, you know, is it right up, right side up? I made you a little pattern. So you can find this below so that you have, it should be, I've got it pretty well together. I may have to tweak it before we publish this video. But anyway, this is the pattern for my little rail fence star. It tells you which fabrics in my A Song to Sing collection are used, but you can make it with what you have at home as well. So it's all laid out. I'll make sure you can, everything should be pretty well descriptive in there for you to be able to put that block together with or without me here to help you do that. So anyway, rail fence units, my friends, these are some pretty versatile blocks, and I hope you are finding that you're a little bit more inspired. Oh, one more thing. Down below in the description, I will put my Pinterest, a link to my Pinterest where I have a growing, what is it? It's a growing board with rail fence units, and I'll have a half square triangle one as well. So as we go forward and we're building more and more videos in this little library here called the Scrappy Starter series, we'll have those references there too, where we can go and get a little bit more inspiration. Anyway, I hope you had fun today. If you enjoyed this and you haven't followed me before, or you're brand new, I hope you will like and subscribe and share. I would be so grateful, and I would love to have you come and join me for more of what we have going on here in the Joy. So I'll see you next time.